medicines because I had interviewed, her name is Reagan Lima, and she was a doctor of traditional Chinese medicine.
Wow.
And she was telling me how hard it is sometimes because the Western medicine doctors are obviously indoctrinated into this way of thinking with how to treat certain ailments with prescription pills or whatever they learned there. And her job was just a little bit harder because being a doctor of traditional Chinese medicine, she would have to know how to treat or how to work with Western medicine to treat whatever ailment is going on. And you don't see that happening the other way. So
Right.
for you to work with a traditional Western medicine physician, it kind of helps you kind of bounce ideas on how to help.
Well, his dad was a chiropractor, right?
Oh,
So
there you
he
go.
grew up in that non-traditional setting. And so it definitely like it goes back and forth. And kind of the help of hyperbarics is that insurance does cover 14 conditions. So doctors, as they go through their rotation, understand that part of it. They understand that these are the conditions that are covered by insurance, and here is why. And so the hard work is being like, okay, but can we just separate what you know about insurance and have a base understanding of what is the role of oxygen in the body?
And how do you determine, because if it's only covered by 14 specific things, how do you determine who, not that you want to turn anybody away, you know what I mean, but
Yeah.
cost effective to actually help people?
So we, up into this point, have been a cash only business, right? And we make sure that we are about 25% less than the nearest competitor. And if if it's an insurance based condition and I recognize that money is a barrier to your care, we refer them out. I happily and proudly will refer them into the right place so that they can get the care they need in the way that they can afford it. But the majority of our patients pay cash pay. And we have some people that definitely pay more, which then subsidizes for people that can't pay a lot. And so we have this really beautiful interactive community of people who are not only willing to talk to others about their conditions. When we have people that call and they're like, has anyone ever had this condition? I have a Rolodex of patients who are open to talk to prospective patients, not only about how they are feeling with their condition, but also their experience with us. So it's been really, really fun to cultivate that
So you have almost like a pay it forward slash referral experience review.
conversation. Yeah,
Nice.
yeah, the whole thing. And we're starting a really nerdy, I wouldn't call it a podcast, as we're not going to put it on to like anything like that, but it's going to be on our website called Talks from the Tank. So that we can have people talking about their experiences, and so that we can also point to these episodes too for people.
Now, when people are getting treated, are they just kind of sitting there and for a duration of time and waiting until that time is over, or?
Yeah, you hop in the tank, and you've seen the pictures on our website and our Instagram. You can sit upright and not hit the ceiling. You can put your arms all the way out and not hit the ceiling, push your arm to the side and barely touch the sides. You have a lot of space in there. And we really try to make it a luxurious experience. You have two long pillows that hug you on either side, a pillow for underneath your knees, and a pillow behind your head. So most people sleep.
Okay, nice.
Some
So
people
it's
come in there and they read, but the oxygen actually makes you feel very relaxed into sleeping.
nice. And are they allowed to have anything in there other than like a book, but like electronics or anything like that? Or I know you said it's basically like inside of an airplane, but wasn't sure if there was any restrictions.
Yeah, we just let people sleep or read a book. That's pretty much what we do.
Nice. And
Yeah.
what were some common misconceptions that kind of went towards you then when people were kind of iffy about hyperbarics or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that we as humans do this really relatable thing, right? We try to find experiences that we either experience or understand to relate to things that we don't know, right? So a lot of times people think that we're like cryo because most people have experienced cryo or they understand what cryo is. So a misconception is that like we're like cryo, or a misconception is that we only do wound care, and that's not even true at all. Or that we're a medical center and we're cold and terrible. And the truth is
Yeah.
like, no, no, we're black as hell. We are for the people, and you're home when you're here. And we treat we you know we do this for everybody.
And what are some things that you wish would have known before getting into the business?
Oh man. Again, how long do you have? I think the biggest takeaway that I have is that first of all, that everything is a lot more expensive than you think. And
Yeah.
so when you're budgeting out for your business, just remember that things are always more expensive than you think that they are, and always ask for more money than you think you need
I'm gonna say
because
you need
you're
a
going
big
to need
cushion,
it.
huh?
Yeah. And the other thing is, as a person of color, as a woman, as a newcomer into any kind of environment, not just in hyperbarics, remember that you know who you are and you're doing the right things, because the people in your environment might not celebrate you. They might never see you as an equal. They might never think that what you're doing is a cool thing. They might disparage you. And I have faced adversity in this environment quite mainly because we're different. And I used to be very, very sad about that. And I look at the reflection of what we have done in the last 4 years and what we continue to do, and we just turn off the crows. We just don't listen anymore because we're well within bounds of what we're doing and we're helping a lot of people.
Yeah, numbers don't lie.
Yeah.
So
They don't.
so regardless of how people feel about certain things, it's there's a especially no matter what business you're in, for some reason there's always that famine mentality that comes
Yeah.
from competitors, and they think there's not enough to go around. Instead of, like you said, in Russia and in Israel, they're working together with their information instead of hoarding it like it's some kind of resource that's limited.
Capitalism has its limitations. And when we live in a society that encourages a scarcity mentality, you're always going to have people that feel like they need to be assholes to do well.
That's
And
very
the
true.
truth is, if someone opened up a center right next door to mine, it wouldn't bother me at all because there is so much work to be done. Every person that's breathing can use oxygen therapy. And so, why are we competing?
I was gonna say there's not a shortage of people who
No.
need help. That's for sure.
Absolutely. And if you're willing to work with people, there's never a shortage.
What advice would you give somebody who's looking to pursue, like, they're listening to this podcast right now, didn't know anything about hyperbarics, and they just learned a ton from you and the path that you went down? What's some advice you would give a little girl who wants to do the same thing you're doing?
Wants to do hyperbarics or start a business?
Both.
Okay, so if you're looking to get into hyperbarics, the first thing I would tell you is read. You need, like, if I had one thing that someone should have told me early on was get into those hyperbaric courses, get into that reading, and do as much as you can do right now. Part of what makes me really good at my job is that I am a knowledge ball because I read all of those books. Because I believe that we work twice as hard to get half as much. And so, as a woman and as a person of color, you have to know your craft. And so, becoming a nerd within that craft doesn't serve, it serves you dividends all the way through. And if you're a little girl out there or a young man out there and you're thinking about getting into business and doing it for yourself, you just have to have an inner power within yourself to know that what you're doing is right. And if you feel like you're in the right path, you pursue it. You gun it down until you figure it out, and don't ever give up. There were times in this business when no one came in for days and we did not have money coming in, and I had to not get paid to pay my employees. And there's moments where you're like, what are you doing? You should go to nursing school or look back into law enforcement because it's a comfy salary. But this was the right thing to do from the very start. And so you just got to know yourself. And it's hard.
Yeah, that actually rolls into my next question. When was that aha moment? That moment where you were like, this is this is what I really want to do, and you all in, hands down, just threw everything in.
I think like the third stranger that came to my house, that was about it. It happened really early
Okay.
because, I mean, where I come from here in Oakland, you don't come to people's house like
I was
that,
gonna say
right?
that's a very wild thing for you to do, to just leave your like,
Wild.
hey, go ahead and treat yourself.
Come get into this chamber. And you don't like these people didn't know who I was. They came to my East Oakland apartment to get into a contraption, which the one that I bought was very small. I'm talking about like this was the diameter, right? For your listeners who don't see me right now, 21 inches in diameter was the size of the chamber that I had. And we had all types, all people coming in, trusting me to enclose them in what looked like a coffin and to blow it up like with the oxygen and pressure so that they got this therapy. And to me, that right there was the case. Was and then when they came out and this woman said for the first time in almost 10 years she was moving without pain. I was like, okay, this is what I need to be doing with my life. This
what
is it.
what was there any person that came in who had like something you thought like this, we're gonna try it because at this point somebody's always willing to do whatever they can to see some type of result. What was, if there's any, an ailment that had come in and you were like, holy shit, this really really works, like.
I mean, this shit happens all the time,
Yeah.
right? Like we have people coming in, and sometimes I have to lean on my medical director because I'm just like, what was that? What is this disease? I think the biggest one for me was probably our first sudden hearing loss patient.
That
Because when they
definitely,
came in,
that jumped out to me when I read it and I was like, whoa,
I
what?
just was like, no, they don't have any hearing. How the hell are we solving that problem?
Yeah.
um, and when they came in, we looked up what the protocol was. I okayed it through my medical director. And the person was on the right medication with their ear, nose, and throat doctor. And the first like 10 sessions, nothing was happening. And I remember thinking to myself, like, I don't want to be this snake oil person that's like oxygen is going to cure all.
Right,
It's not a
right.
cure all, right? You have to dose it correctly. It has to be at the right times. And so when this guy came in and he was like, I don't know what's going to happen here. I was like, well, per the protocol and the studies, you're within the bracket that we can help you, but I'm not exactly sure. Like I was honest. I was like, I don't know what's going to happen here.
At least you're
But if you don't
transparent,
get,
yeah.
yeah, if you don't get any healing out of this, I don't want you paying me because it felt outside of the realm of what I was doing. And he came in for his 20 sessions. And about session 12, because he always would put his earbuds in every day to see where he was at, right? Which is very like Neanderthal way of checking your hearing, but he was
Right.
doing it, right? And so he said after he came in for his 12th session, he was like, you guys would never guess. He had this giant smile on his face. He was just like, I didn't hear any words, but I heard tones for the first time. So he's got it blaring, right? So in his other ear, it's really loud, but in this ear, he started to faintly hear tones. And it was every session, it got louder for him. And this might sound crazy, but I become a believer of the science every day that I work at my clinic, because you see people that are coming in after a car accident where they bounce their head off the wall, and they have cerebral hemorrhaging. They're having a hard time keeping their eyes open because they're sensitive to light and sound. They're having these focal headaches. And they come in after a series and they're a whole different person. And it's the first time I'm meeting them as normal, because when they were coming in a lot of pain. We have a gentleman that's 96 years old. He wasn't supposed to live this long. He had cancer 25 years ago, with left him with holes in his bladder. And when he came in, he was close to being septic because his bladder was leaking into his abdomen. And the only thing that heals it is hyperbaric. And so when he came in, I was like, is this fool going to die in our chamber?
Yeah, that was,
And I was just really, really, really scared of what was going to happen. And he had a catheter, he was, urinating into a catheter, and it was just all blood the first time he came in because of all of the damage that was happening in his body. And after the second session, his wife called us and was like, there's no more blood in his urine. And he went from coming in on a gurney to then coming in a wheelchair to now he uses a walker to come and see us. And we're sustaining his life. He comes in once a week just to keep the maintenance up for his body. And his doctor has said time and time again, if it wasn't for hyperbaric, he would have been dead 2 weeks after